6 miles easy today. I gotta say, I'm not feeling great. My legs are tired, body feels tired. Ooh.
Boy, oh boy, did I forget how tough marathon training can be. I suppose it's not as if I just did this a year ago. Oh wait, yeah, it was just a year ago when I was training for my very first marathon. Oh boy. Well, 2 weeks down and 15 to go in this training block, also known as 11.7% complete, which, now that I said that out loud, doesn't make me feel any better about what I have in front of me. The best advice I can give myself or anyone watching who might be in a similar situation is just to take it one day and one run at a time. The rest will fall into place. I suppose the alternative is that I might fall on my face, but I'd prefer the former. Welcome back to my new series, Wineglass 359, where I, an average runner with minimal innate running skills, but a foolish desire to make something of myself as a 37-year-old, will attempt to run a sub-4-hour marathon in October 2025. I think marathoners must have selective memory because nearly as soon as I finished the Richmond Marathon in November 2024, I thought, yeah, I could do another one of these. The call was strong, and so here we are. Also, before I go much further, I should address the elephant in the room. No, not this one. Yes, I'm talking about my hair. After a year of growing it out, it was time to cut it off. It was just too hot to train longer with that big old mop on top of my head. But all the training I'll show in this video will still be me with the long curly locks. So now you know. Anyway, let's get into how things went during the first 2 weeks of training. I'd say from a big picture perspective, they went about as well as I could have hoped. I was traveling for more than half of those first 2 weeks, and I was able to maintain a pretty good routine while I was away. As I mentioned in episode 0 of this series, I'm following an intermediate training plan from Hal Higdon for this training block. Week 1 of the training plan called for a 9-mile long run after 16 miles during the week. By comparison, I wasn't up to 9 miles in my previous marathon training block until week 7. Of course, there were extenuating factors last time, the main one being that I was coming off a nearly 10-week period of not running at all due to an injury. This go around, I came off of a 12-week half marathon winter training plan and then ran 3 distance races in 6 weeks before being really consistent with a regular running routine through the month of May and into June. Before I get into some of the specifics of the first 2 weeks, I thought I should address one of the points I discussed in episode 0, specifically the strength training guarantee that I made. I'm sad to report that during the first 2 weeks of training, not a single iota of strength training was accomplished. If you're new here, I'll tell you that during my previous marathon training block, I promised week after week that I was definitely for sure going to do some weight training, only to never do it. So with that knowledge, I know what you all must be thinking.
You sit on a throne of lies.
Liar! Stop lying to me!
Which, fair. But let me explain. So the thing is, well, I guess, okay, I'm just gonna blame it on being on the road. That's the best I've got. However, as of the recording of this video, I've just wrapped week 3 of training, and no spoilers, but let me just say there wasn't one strength training session, because there were 2 in 1 week. Okay, that's all you get for now. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to make sure you don't miss the big reveal in episode 2. Enough of my failures during the first 2 weeks. Let's talk about the successes, namely that despite being away from home, I didn't miss one scheduled run. I did have to move a few around, but I got them all in the books. And as an added bonus, I got to run in some really cool places. Week 1 kicked off with 3 runs at home before our travel started. Training began on Monday, June 9th with an easy 3-mile run. After that, I knocked out another easy 3 miles on Tuesday, and then 5 miles on Wednesday. For some reason, I got no footage of my first 3 runs. Why? I have no idea, but I assure you they happened. And if you don't believe me, follow me on Strava. Thursday was our travel day, so despite a lot of movement and carrying heavy bags and car seats on planes, trains, and automobiles, I took that as my rest day. My 4th run of the week was another 5-mile easy run, and my first that I took on vacation. I was in Dubuque, Iowa visiting my wife's family, and when I first looked up places to run in the city, I was incredibly concerned. There were major hills in the area around where we were staying, and need I remind you that hills are terrible, just the absolute worst, especially when you're going up them. And I want to have as little to do with them in this training block as I can. Luckily, thanks to the power of the internet, I discovered a lovely trail running through the city that was almost completely flat. The weather was warm but otherwise nice, and I cruised out and back for 5 miles.
I'm at the tail end of my first week of training for the Wineglass Marathon. I am currently in Dubuque, Iowa on a family trip for a family wedding. So, finding a new place to run. Don't really know where I am, but this city is quite hilly. So I tried to find as flat a spot as possible. We'll see how it goes. Reminds me of home. Okay, I've reached my turnaround point. What a lovely little path I found. 2.5 back. All right, that's 5 miles. Took it pretty easy. Luckily found a relatively, almost virtually flat section to run on. That's it for today. On to the next one.
My final run of week 1 was a 9-mile easy run. I used the same trail as the day before and felt really pretty good during this one. The weather was nearly as good as you can get in the summer, and that made things a whole lot more enjoyable.
I'm at the end of week 1 of training. A 9-mile long run today to close things out. Still in Iowa. Taking it nice and slow. Crossing the highway. Halfway finished, turning around. That's it. That's 9 miles finished. Week 1 officially complete.
Week 2 was meant to be a deload week of sorts with a shorter long run at the end of the week. But instead of 5 days of running, I ended up actually doing 6 instead. Oops. I'll explain why in just a bit. Day 1 of week 2 was my last run in Dubuque, and I stretched the 3 prescribed miles just a bit to get to a 5K.
It's the start of week 2. 3 miles easy today. And I gotta say, my legs are already feeling tired after just 1 week of training. Last week was 25 miles. This week, a bit of a deload week, 22 miles, and then ramp right back up to another big week after that. So, I don't know. I think I gotta figure out my sleep situation and, of course, strength training. Hit this hard.
Day 2 of week 2 was my first run during my time in Chicago. We were staying in an Airbnb in the Ukrainian village neighborhood of the city, and a local friend directed me on a nice running route. I knocked out another 5K and really enjoyed looking around the city while running.
Week 2, day 2. I'm now in Chicago, and I'm running 3 miles. You know, I've been here a bunch of times, but I've never actually run in the city. I've reached my halfway point, turning around.
The best part about running in Chicago? It's nearly entirely flat. My dream one day is to run the Chicago Marathon. One day, I hope, if the lottery ever goes my way. Wednesday was meant to be my rest day, and since the forecast was calling for rain, I thought it would match up well. But when the rain held off and my wife took our kids to hang out with some local friends, I couldn't pass up the opportunity to drive down to Michigan Avenue for a run along the lake. I only ended up doing 3.1 miles, but boy, was it worth it for the views.
Today we've got a bonus run. Wasn't planning on running today, but I had some extra time. Wanted to come down into downtown Chicago and run. We've got an awesome 18-mile paved trail. City's behind me, Lake Michigan over there. Just enjoying myself. Just about 3/4 of a mile into this run, and that is the Shed Aquarium behind me. Pretty sweet. Okay, I've reached the turnaround of my short bonus run, headed back downtown.
Thursday was our last full day in Chicago and last full day on vacation, and I made the most of it on my scheduled 5-mile run. Since I needed to do something a little longer, my local friend suggested a running trail called the Bloomingdale Trail on the 606. The 606 is 2.7 miles of repurposed space that was converted from an old and unused train line to a paved green space and nature trail. It was awesome. It was packed with runners, walkers, and bikers, and I'm glad I got a chance to check it out.
Good morning. It is Thursday, June 19th. Out here for 5 miles today. Today's my last day in Chicago. I will say I love running in new cities, and I will miss that Chicago is very flat to run in. What I won't miss is a smaller than usual bed we've been sleeping in our Airbnb. Today I'm running along this really cool trail called the Bloomingdale Trail. Keep on keeping on. Okay, I've reached the easternmost part of the trailhead. I just love this, it's so nice. Like, look, it's just completely car-free above the rest of the cars driving in the city. Super nice, a lot of people out running, walking. Keep going.
Friday was an off day before 5 miles at marathon pace on Saturday. I was back home, I waited until midday, and it was so ridiculously hot outside I opted for the treadmill. I managed the run in 44 minutes 33 seconds for an average pace of 8:53 per mile. With the controlled conditions inside, I was also able to keep my average heart rate at a very low 122 beats per minute.
Okay, that's 5 miles finished at pace, about 9 minutes per mile. Felt pretty easy on the treadmill, honestly. And I had a little special guest at the end. You wanna wave? My daughter came and cheered me on for the last 7 minutes. So on to the next run.
The last run of week 2 was a 6-mile long run. It was miserably humid outside, and I struggled through the run in my neighborhood at a 10:07 per mile pace.
Made it to the end of week 2. 6 miles easy today. I gotta say, I'm not feeling great. My legs are tired, body feels tired. Ooh, only 2 weeks into 17. This is already tough. Got a long road to go. Okay, I've reached my halfway point. I'm already exhausted. Turning around, I have to say that every time I'm running in the shade, it feels okay. When I'm running in the sunny spots, it feels as if I'm running on the surface of the sun, which is not ideal. So 3 more miles to go. Hopefully finish strong. Okay, just finished my 6-mile run in this extreme heat. Just to give you an idea of how much I sweat, how much water is lost, I'm gonna wring out my shirt. So if you're squeamish about this stuff, turn off the video. Okay, hold on. Okay, here we go. Wringing this out. Oh my gosh, that is disgusting. That is disgusting. Okay, need some water, bye.
Yeah, that's a lot of sweat. Anyway, that's it for this episode. A good first 2 weeks. I'm hoping I can carry that momentum into the next 15 weeks of training before the marathon in October. As always, I'm grateful to run and grateful for today. This is Wineglass 359, and this is episode 1. Thanks for watching. See you soon.